Hi, welcome to the YouTube channel. Appreciate all the support. Today's topic, we're gonna be talking about adding some value, to y'all, giving y'all some game when it comes to like fitness and stuff. But on this channel, we're gonna start incriminating more lifestyle stuff, more, valuable stuff. I want to just be known for, more of who I am than, the old me. Most of y'all might know I did like a lot of car content. I'm still into that, and all that, but I'm kind of stepping back from that. I just want to create like my own persona and, be known for who I am. But today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to put on mass for taller men. So, I'm 6'7". So, a taller dude who's about, 6'2", 6'3", even like 6'1", obviously our bones are longer than, obviously a shorter guy or a guy who's, less taller. So as taller dudes, it's definitely more harder for us to get a certain type of physique, and I'll put some pictures somewhere in the video. But it's harder for us to, kind of get that kind of buff physique that a lot of guys want. And so today I'm just going to be dropping some game on, how you can, different ways to do that, different workouts you can do, and just like, meal prep, meal plan, stuff like that you can do. So first, when it comes to a lot of these workouts, they're the same, but the technique of how you do it is different. When you're a taller dude, because I'll be in the gym, 24-hour fitness, a lot of these gyms, like the gym, Gold's Gym and all that. A lot of people, they say, oh, you got a lot of mass for your size, because I'm 6'7". A lot of guys my height, they're either really skinny, really weak, so it's like, it's rare to see somebody my size, my height with like so much mass. So they're always asking questions, so this is why I want to give y'all this game, like going through the same thing, maybe not as tall as me, whatever, but you're taller, you're having trouble putting on that size. So a lot of these compound movements, they're the same, but the way you do them is different. So I'm gonna make a separate video of like exactly how to, when I get in the gym, exactly how to do certain stuff, because I just think this is some value that I can give a lot of target guys, because I'll be in the gym and I'm seeing like somebody who's like 6'1", 6'2", and it's like I feel like they're not really growing, and so I feel like wherever I can help them out and give them different tips of what helped me over the years, because I've been working out for over 5 years consistently, and now I'm just I've been taking it seriously over 4 years. So I just feel like I got a lot of value in game when it comes to the workouts for taller dudes. It's different for shorter dudes. It's easier for y'all to put on mass, to look more like, get that buff look, but for us taller dudes, we gotta do a little bit more work, you know what I mean? So I'm just here to drop that game. So yeah, once I get into the gym, I'm really gonna show y'all, talk y'all through the workouts, different compound movements that I use, that's really helped me, and then of course like consistency. But when it comes to certain stuff, certain workouts, free weights, machines, stuff like that, I would say the thing that's helped me the best is free weights. I like free weights because you can do so many compound movements with the dumbbells, different types of stuff, especially dumbbells. Dumbbells is really good, if you're taller dude, to get that bigger chest, and then also arms. Our arms are much longer, wingspan, so it's harder to get that stocky type buff look, so I would say dumbbells for sure, stuff like that, different compound movements rather than like machines and stuff like bench press and all that. I see a lot of tall dudes, that's where they struggle. They do like regular bench, flat bench, high incline bench, and it's like that's cool and all, but I just don't feel like us tall people, we gotta, like I said, we gotta hit the compounds and the movements different from a shorter person that could do stuff like that. But when it comes to us, our structure is way longer. So when it comes to that, I would say, dumbbells is definitely the key to getting a bigger chest, bigger arms, just different movements like that. Legs is a little more different for us taller dudes. Obviously, I used to play basketball, man, and my knees now, it's like, now I'm starting to feel it. I be having back issues and stuff. I be feeling old at times, you know what I'm saying? But for us, the legs, they're sensitive part. So when it comes to leg day, I usually I don't go too crazy on the legs. I don't, because I'll be having knee problems and stuff, and I don't want no blowout, and that is very easy for us to, start having knee problems, and you don't want to cause no major damage down the line in the future, especially if you're younger, because stuff like that. It's like once you hurt your back, it's never the same. You tweak it, it's never the same. Like y'all comment down below. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Once you hurt your back, it's never the same. Any little tweak, any little wrong movement, you know what I mean? I used to hoop, and it's like I tweaked it bad back in the day, and even to this day, like when I do certain back exercises, like it if I don't feel like it's comfortable, if I'm not comfortable with it, I won't even, go too hard on it. So when it comes to legs, you really got to watch out, for the tissue in your legs, your kneecaps, when it comes to legs, I would more so focus on dumbbells again, but also machines. I want to do a lot of squats with like bench press and all that. When it comes to like squats, I want to do none of that because that's too much tension on your knees. More so machines like leg press, dumbbell squats, stuff like that. That's more freelance. And I'll of course show all this in a future video, but this is just me, giving y'all some different types of tips when it comes to that. Make sure when y'all are doing these compound exercises, you're not putting the weight too light and too heavy. You want the weight to be just right in the middle, to where you have enough force, you're pushing yourself, but then also enough force to, get the weight up in the motion up. You don't want it to be too light because then you're not really going to improve and your body and physique isn't going to develop over time. You want to have some sort of tension between you and the weights, but you also don't want to end up hurting yourself, causing future damage to the weights. I know a lot of guys, taller dudes specifically, where I can relate as well. I used to go too heavy, and then, I used to start having some pec issues. I started to get tears, stuff like that. I started to get some pain, near the pec area. So you want to make sure that you're hitting these exercises with a very delicate, careful, because you don't want any future damage in the future. Next, I'm gonna be talking about, how can working out really change like your mental health. Before I got really serious about working out, I just wasn't really into it like that. I was an athlete, so us athletes, like you got to stay in shape. Obviously, you got to, do these certain exercises to, be in the top shape that you can be. But I wasn't into the weights as much. I noticed once I kind of stepped away from that and started going hitting the gym more, it really clears your mental health, and once you start seeing that progress and that development, you definitely start to feel some type of make you feel good. Once you start getting attention, from other people starting seeing it, people start making little jokes. Like, like I was at a barbecue with my boys a while back, and he was saying, like, somebody that was there was like, and you could tell Kai be working out, because I was eating, I'm eating the protein, the meat, stuff like that, so, just doing stuff like doing it just feels good, when you get that feeling, you're around people, you're around family and stuff, it's definitely a good feeling. Next, I'm gonna be talking about what's your meal plan, what's your diet, whatever. I wouldn't even say diet because out of all the years that I've been working out, I've never dieted specifically, if that makes sense. I've just ate clean. I've been on a high protein diet for I don't even know how many years now, 4 or 5 years now. And then usually on the weekends, I'll have something, like to step out, because you still got to live your life, but you still want to stay in top shape, But I've never been specifically on a specific diet. I know there's vegan, which I would never do. Don't recommend that, especially if you, taller, skinnier. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend anything to where it takes out like vegetarian and all that. If it's like religious issues, I understand that. But, if it's not, I would say a high protein diet is the best. But also you don't want to feel like you're like bloated all the time 24/7. You want to make sure maybe like egg whites in the morning. I usually do egg whites, some turkey bacon sausage, whatever, with a piece of toast. All these things is cool in moderation. When it comes to stuff like that, like bread specifically, I know a lot of people like bread, like pasta and stuff. I love pasta. It's one of my favorite foods. But, in moderation, you want to space it out. You know, they make protein pasta. You know, you just got to go to the store. Once I started getting serious about working out, I was going in the store looking at the back of stuff, you know, every time to see like, man, like what does this got in it? How many carbs is this? How much protein is in here? So you start to get to that point. Once you're serious about that gym, you understand, you know, that you got, especially if you have like an app, you know, like MyFitnessPal. I don't really have the app. I can eyeball stuff now and just be like, okay, this is good. You know, when I meal prep, do what I do. I can do stuff like that. But when it comes to, you know, when you just start working out and you know, taller, download MyFitnessPal, stuff like that helps you out. You take a picture of the meal, it'll tell you how much, you know, carbs, and like it'll give you a daily intake of what you need to, you know, what you need to, it gives you your daily intake on what you need to reach for the day, pretty much. After a while, you will get to that point like me, where you're like eyeballing stuff, you're like looking at it like, okay, this is cool right here. This is like portion size, you know, you putting stuff, but that takes time, you know, just focus on, you know, the gym, and definitely, you know, you can't outwork a bad diet. So definitely try to eat clean as much as possible. When it comes to like certain other stuff, like sweets and stuff, honestly, I'm gonna get to a point now, G, where I'm like, man, like I'll see some cake or something, I'm just like, it don't even sound good no more. You know, like a big key thing for me that helped me when it came to the gym is when I would crave something at night, I would just get a ton of fruit. I would stock up on fruit, pineapple, watermelon, mangoes, just stuff like that, you know, and it'll like take that out of they'll take that taste. I won't even think about it, you know, because that fruit, especially strawberries, you know, stuff that's sweet, bananas, you know, you don't even like crave it no more, you know. So it's better to, you know, stick the healthy way, because after a while you won't even want none of that, the chips, the sodas and all that, you know what I mean? Like you gotta figure out a way to get past that point. And you will, as time goes on and progresses, stuff like me, like now, like stuff sweet doesn't even sound good no more. Like cake, I'm not even really a big cake person like that, unless it's like, you know, a special occasion or something. But even then, I'm not even like, you know, I got to stick to the plan, G, you know. So, you know, just making sure you're sticking on the plan, and, you know, try to substitute different stuff, that's so you don't got to like go to like that specific sugary food or sugary sweet, you know. The next thing is cardio. Now, when it comes to cardio, there's a such thing as too much cardio. I usually don't start off with cardio before my workouts because I feel sluggish, and you also burn more carbs and calories, and you just have more energy. For me personally, when you do cardio after, but there is a such thing as too much cardio. So I usually do incline, maybe about 6.5, maybe about 6.0 to 6.5 incline on a treadmill, and then I'll do that for about 32 minutes, like 35 minutes or so, and then I'll step off that, and then I'll leave. I do that usually every day, and then I'll do, you know, cardio and abs sometimes, but that's usually on like a leg day, somewhere where I'm not really gassed or exhausted, you know. But you don't want to do 40, 50, 60 minutes cardio every single day. You don't want to run no 3K miles and all that. Like, don't do all that, G, because then you eating the muscle away. If you're trying to put on that muscle, your it's just gonna look like skinny. And so we're trying to get out of that category, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to look like a toothpick, you know what I mean? So you're trying to get out of that to where, you know, you can put on some mass and some size, you know, and feel like, you know, somebody can't just come pick you up or push you over, you know. So you know, you don't want to end up like that. So, you know, do cardio, of course, because that's like good for your health and stuff, but don't do too much of it, because there's like anything too much could be bad for you. Like too much water you can die from. If you don't believe me, look that up, G. But yeah, like just stuff like that. You know, you want to mix things up, but also don't overdo it. You know, just like when it comes to working out, I say you should be in the gym maybe Monday through Thursday, bare minimum, and then Monday through Friday, not too much. You know, not Monday through Sunday. Don't go 7 days a week. I usually do Monday through Thursday. Sometimes Monday through Friday, just depends if I missed a day throughout the week. But if I do Monday through Friday, I'll rest on weekends. So I usually go, but I'll still stay active. So I usually go hiking, you know, still get my steps in, just do something outside, you know, because you want your body to rest. What you can also do is take rest days in between the weekdays. So let's say I went to the gym Monday, Tuesday, I can rest. Wednesday, get back on it Thursday, Friday, and then, you know, but I feel like, you know, an easier schedule to follow would be Monday through Friday for most people, especially if you're going after work, you know, stuff like that. Now, when it comes to that, I'm usually up by 5:30, and I'm, you know, headed to the gym. So I try to get in and out. You know, I try to beat the crowd, and I also try to, you know, feel like I have the most energy to put into perform in the gym when I first wake up, if that makes sense. Once, you know, like once you get off work, if you know, got 9 to 5, whatever, once you get off work, you feel like sluggish. You know, you feel like you don't want to, you go home, you put your feet up, especially if you get in that shower, you know, you ain't going to no gym. It's wraps. So, you know, you want to make sure, you know, you try to find like, you gonna figure it out. You know, you gonna, like anybody who say they don't got at least like 30 minutes to put into the gym or to put into some type of cardio. Like, I don't care if you walking around the neighborhood, you know, like get home, walk around like up and down the street real quick. You know, that's some sort of physical activity because, you know, you want to keep that high testosterone as men. You know, so that's how we keep that. You know, you want to keep your blood flowing somehow. Health is wealth, man. You know, so, you know, you got to find a way to incorporate it some type of way. But as time goes on, you're gonna figure that out. And, you know, it's gonna be like addicting to her. Like, you like, man, I can't stay out the gym. Like, I can't, you know, and you're gonna start to put things on the side. You know, if you got a woman, you're gonna be like, oh, baby, I gotta go to the gym. You got some boys, you know, oh, I gotta go to the gym. You know, like, you're gonna start, you know, because that's how I am now. And then, like, if let's say, you know, your friends start seeing that, it's gonna rub off on them too. You know, so that it's definitely more fun. I like to work out personally alone, but it's more fun when you got people who is willing and motivated with you to go to the gym because it pushes you more for sure. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Just dropping these gems and value for you guys, for my tall dudes especially. But just for everybody, you know, health is wealth. Take care of yourself. And, you know, just keep on grinding. We're going to keep on pushing out this content. Stay tuned for more content like this. A little bit more lifestyle, a little more vlogs, a little more, but definitely mainly dropping value, you know, making a name for myself. And, you know, on to better things, on to new things, a new journey for me. Appreciate it all. Great dude. Appreciate it. Share a video with a friend, and we out. Peace.